For our next project, we're going to be making a scarf to match the hat that we just made. We're going to be using the 31 peg loom, and we'll be doing the same pattern as we did the hat. We'll do 15 rows of blue, 3 rows of yellow, and 15 rows of green. We'll be starting the same way we did the hat, so let's get started. We'll start with our blue yarn. We'll do a slip knot. Okay, we're going to do this exactly the same way as the hat. We'll start off with 3 rows and pick the bottom row over the top 2. Now the length of the scarf is going to be as long as the person is tall. So if the person you're making this for is 6 feet tall, then the length of your scarf is going to be 6 feet long. So continue wrapping and picking in the pattern until you have the length of scarf that you need, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, I have the length of the scarf that I want, so now I'll show you how to finish it off. Now there's a few different ways that you can finish it off. I'm going to show you 2. The first way that I'm going to show you is to close it so it's flat, and then the other way I'm going to show you is to close it so it's gathered together at the top. So what we'll do is, same way as you take the hat off of a loom, cut a piece of yarn and we'll thread it onto a yarn needle. We'll use our little threading trick. There we go. In closing it flat, we're going to start at the top, take it off on the first peg, and then go back 1, and then go to the other side, and so we're going to be working back and forth across the loom instead of a circle, and that will give you a closed flat end. So we'll start at the top, and we'll take off, like we did the hat, the first loop, and then instead of going to the next peg, we're going to go back 1. And then we'll jump over here. And then come back. And then we'll just keep going back and forth. And as you can see, it's starting to kind of have a zigzag shape. And that will close it flat when we're done. Okay, just finishing up our last few. Now it's going to look kind of funny, but all you need to do is now just pull your yarn through and it will pull your ends tight. Okay, now you have an end, a loose end that you're just going to weave in. You can either weave it down through these stitches or you can weave it back through, but just so it ties the end closed. So we'll just find a spot and there you go, there's a knot. Cut it off. And that is the flat end of a scarf. Okay, for the other end, I'm going to show you how to do a gathered end, but if you did a flat end, I'll just give you a quick lesson. Just take a piece of yarn and thread it through the loops back and forth like you did on the loom. So you'll thread it through those two, go to the next ones, and just go back and forth through the loops, closing it flat. And when you get down to the end, just tie it off, and that will give you a flat close. But I'm going to show you how to do a gathered end. So let's change our thread. We want blue. So we'll cut off a length of yarn and thread it onto our yarn needle. Now instead of going back and forth, we're going to go around. So we'll start here and just thread your yarn through the loop. And then we'll go to the next loop and the next, and just go around the circle, and then we'll cinch it closed. Now as you're going through each loop, you may want to just pull your yarn a little bit tighter and kind of work your stitches together so that you can have enough to go through. Okay, we're back where we started. So now you have the end where you started and the end where you finished, and now you're just going to cinch it together so it's closed, and then just tie a square knot. And there you have a closed end of your scarf. So we'll cut off the ends. So this is one way you can close it, to have a gathered end, and we'll put a pom-pom on this end. I'll show you how to do that. And then the other end is a flat end, and then I'll show you how to put fringe on this end. So the first thing we'll do is we'll cut off some pieces of yarn. I'm going to make my fringe about 8 inches long. So I'll cut each strand about 16 inches. And I'm going to be using 6 pieces of yarn for each set of fringe. Okay, so I have my 6 strands of yarn. Now if we look at the end of the scarf, this is where we're going to put our first set of fringe. You can do as much or as little as you want. So the first thing we'll need is our pick, or you can use a crochet hook. Either one is fine. So we'll just slip it through the first hole, and we'll just use the pick to hold the ends, and then slip it through. And then just take the ends and pull them through the loop, and then just pull it tight. And there you have your first set of fringe. If you'd like a little added strength in your scarf, instead of doing it on the first loop, go down to the second one, and that will give it a little more strength. So we'll just slip it through and pull it through to the back. Then loop the ends. Through and pull. And there's your second one. So now just continue adding the fringe until you reach the end of the scarf. And there you have flat end with fringe. Now if you'd like, you can trim your ends so they're all the same length. Now the other side we're going to do a pom-pom. It's just the same as we did with our hat. So we'll get our pom-pom maker, and we'll make this one a little bit small. So this one will do about 50 wraps. Now we'll take our yarn needle and thread the end through. And then we'll slide it through the tip of the gathered part and just tie it on. Trim your ends. There you have the finished pom-pom on the gathered end of your scarf, or the fringe on the flat end of your scarf. So there you have two different styles of scarves, and we've made two different styles of hats, one with a brim and a pom-pom, or a rolled cuff with no pom-pom. So there you go, congratulations!